Hey guys, Jared James here, and I am super excited today. We have on one of our students who I've met recently who, just is having great successes. I always love talking to him, bouncing ideas off and whatever. So I'm going to bring him on in a second. But before I do that, as I say every single week, guys, you can send us your questions. Make sure you join that Facebook group, which is above the video or below the video. I can't even remember, because we still only have about 30% of you in there. So make sure that you join the Facebook private group to network and work with each other and ask questions and do that stuff. You can also tweet your questions. I'm at Jared James today. I was thinking about trying to fit in Instagram because I've been doing so much on there, but I don't think it's a good place for questions. It's videos and pictures and that kind of stuff. But send your questions. Good a minute. You guys are going to have a lot of questions today. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you're going to love what we're going to do today, because you're going to get a lot of amazing information from somebody who's doing it right now. So bring your questions. Call your friends who are in the program. Get them on here. We'll share at the end also. Chris, you're on Twitter and stuff, right?
I am.
Yeah, I know you are. What am I saying? You just shared that stuff on Twitter. So what am I talking about? Yeah, you're on Twitter. You're on those places, so you can include him in there as well. What's your Twitter handle?
Chris Lindahl. KrisLindahl.
AHL. It's just Chris Lindahl.
That's it.
You're so lucky, man. Like,
I got in when Twitter started.
I know I can never get my name for anything. One of the really quick success stories, I posted this in the group the other day, but our big friends at RE/MAX Preferred Associates in Toledo, if you guys are listening right now, you guys are watching right now, we actually do a company-wide coaching program with them. We've got a bunch of those in the program as well, where we actually do the whole company and it's at extreme discounts. But they were recognized as one of the top 500 brokerages in the National Power Brokers Report, 26th annual edition. I think they were number 297. Hopefully I'm not messing that up. They did over 2,300 transactions with over 265 million in sales in 2013, which is a huge jump over what they did in 2012. And so congratulations to you guys. I mean, between Kathy and John, amazing leadership. You guys are so cool. I always love the opportunity to hang out with you guys. I think you guys might be at mid-year coming up too. And if any of you guys who are coaching students are going to mid-year, which I guess is now called the Realtor Party Convention, which, did anybody hear that and say maybe this isn't a good idea calling it the Realtor Party Convention? It sounds like you're going there for a big party, but that's a whole other thing. We'll just keep calling it mid-year. If any of you are going to mid-year, let me know, because last-minute thing, I am going to go to mid-year now in D.C. next week or the week after, whenever it is. Love to meet some of you in person, so let me know if you're going to be there. With that being said, guys, I have completely changed what I was going to do today. I had a whole thing planned for what we were going to talk about and what we were going to do. And then I was Facebooking back and forth with Chris, and I just decided. I mean, he even said to me, I said, why don't you come on today's broadcast? And he wrote me back something like, "You mean in 30 minutes?" And I'm like, "Yes, let's do it," because I think you guys are going to get so much out of today. Okay, so with that being said, let me introduce Chris. Chris, we met at the REW Summit, the Real Estate Webmasters Summit in I don't remember where it was, man. Where was that? What was that?
Texas.
Yep, that was it. That was right. It was just outside the airport in Dallas, Texas, where I'll be heading actually shortly here. We met there, kind of hit it off. You've got a good business going. You did last year. You just had, like, literally within the last few days, you had your 5-year anniversary of being in the industry, right?
Actually, today.
Okay, today. Okay, and last year in 2013, you did 30 million for sales volume. This year, you're on track to do over 40 million in sales volume.
Correct.
What's your average price point? Let's just get that out of the way.
Average price point is right around 200, 250 range.
Okay. I knew that, because I just wanted to make sure when people hear me say 30 million and 40 million and these kinds of things, they tend to think, oh, well, he must be working, $10 million houses. He must be working. You're working average price point, middle America type of, pricing that. It's not like it's, these huge houses. So I want people to understand that. Last month, in March, actually, you did 26 transactions. In April, you did 24 transactions. You're doing this all, which, you and I have talked about. You're doing this all with one full-time assistant, which I think is freaking nuts. You know that I think that. And that's going to change. But you just hired your first buyer's agent. So I want everybody to understand this. Like, he was doing this on his own, which clearly meant you had no life, but now you're looking to change that around. But why don't you say hi to everybody, and then we'll get started here.
Hey, guys.
Awesome. So, Chris, so let's get started with this. So you started now 5 years ago. Tell me about your first year in the industry, because we're going to talk about some of the things you do right now. But I want to go back to the beginning, because that's where everything starts, right? What did you do your first year in the business?
Okay, so when I got into the business, I got in the business of May of 2009, which, if you remember, wasn't a very good time.
Right.
I went to a seminar almost immediately when I started for a guy that was within our company that did short sales.
Okay.
And I left there going, I can do it better. I didn't know anything about short sales. He had contracts. He had a story. He was about 20 years older than me. And so I became the short sale expert.
Okay.
I would go and look up the defaults online, the public records, which is free.
Yep.
So you go online, you'd see who was in default. I'd either send out postcards or I'd go door knock them.
Well, let's go back. I want to break this down.
Yes.
So
okay.
What made you go online and do that? Because I'm telling you from the mindset of the realtor, so many times they say, well, I could do that better. And then they basically sit next to a phone and go, God, I hope it rings. I could do this so much better than them. I'm so much better. What made you think to go online and say, hi, I could do this? What was the thought process?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for anyone that's starting in real estate is funds. And so, with going to look at that list, it's free.
So you didn't have money, so you just started brainstorming, you jumped online, and you were kind of like, how can I get this stuff?
What a better way to do it? You know that these people are either going to sell or they're going to foreclose, and it's free.
And it was public record.
Right.
So you were basically target marketing before it was a cliche term, basically. Like it was kind of like, you were the original target marketer. Like these are the people I know that they're going to have to do something, so why don't I spend my time working with them, because I don't have money to do anything else.
Correct. And then I became the short sale expert.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about short sales.
Nice. Yeah. Let me just clarify. So you branded yourself a short sale expert.
Yep, self-proclaimed.
So you probably had a different definition of expert. To other people, expert meant I've done a ton of these. To you, it meant I can learn fast.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so you're the short sale expert now. So you start doing short sales.
Yep.
But I know that today that's not like all of your business, because like some people are listening to this and they're going, oh, so he does a bunch of short sales. So talk me through it. When did you transition and start doing traditional business?
Okay, so for about the first 2 years, it was almost all short sales. That was most of the transactions here were short sales or foreclosures, a lot of them.
Okay.
And so what I started doing is I picked, you talk about owning an area. So
Yep.
I picked an area around my office, and I
Okay.
started branding my statistics of closed units to the traditional audience. Chris sold 5 more houses. Chris sold 10 more houses. I never said they were short sales,
Okay.
but to the actual public, they assumed, oh, wow, he's selling houses like crazy. So I took all of my short sale numbers and transitioned into a traditional market just based on the numbers I had done.
How did you pick your area? You said you picked a neighborhood. Like you were like, I want to own this particular area. And it's funny you write that, because I just wrote in the coaching thing, last week? I wrote something like, you're better off sending to 100 people 10 times than you are to 1,000 people once. And the whole idea was own something. Become so known for like, these people see you over and over again. How did you pick that area? What made you pick that area?
Convenience. I live in Blaine, I work in Blaine, and the zip code I targeted was 55449, which is the higher end zip code of 2 in Blaine, Minnesota.
Okay.
I just took that area and I said, that's the area I'm going to take over. I know a lot of people here, and that's what I'm going to do.
You're going to own it.
Yep, and that's what I.
So what'd you do? You started to grow, obviously, because you just did. You're doing 40 million this year and 30 million. What did you do? You didn't have a lot of money. So so a lot of people hear like our marketing techniques, and a lot of times I'll quote this article that I read to our students a couple months ago, where they actually broke down agents who make over $100,000, and which is less than 20% of agents, and they found that those agents spend 6 times more on technology. They spend 10 times more on marketing, which means they're actually promoting their business. But again, in the beginning, you didn't have money to promote, although I think it's so important. What were you doing? Because it's not like you were using our campaigns and sending out $5,000 worth of marketing to everybody. What were you doing?
Yeah, so I think it's important for, I know there's all different levels that are on this broadcast today, and you don't need money to be successful. Money is just an object.
Right.
So what I did is I was on Facebook, and I think I told you some of this earlier. I went through my office, and I asked people, can I advertise your listings as just solds and just listed? I never sent out an introductory letter saying, hey, I'm brand new to the business. I started and I said, I'm going to be the deal maker.
I love it. So rather than saying, I don't have properties to market, you went, hey, I'm allowed to market other people's properties if the broker gives me the permission. So you found a way around instead of finding a reason why you can't.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And the other thing I did is, and I don't know how this is around the country, but HUD lets you advertise their properties if you have permission by the broker. So I went and looked up all at HUDHomestore.com. I looked up all the HUD homes, called the brokers. I got it in writing. I called the brokers. I said, can I get permission to advertise your listings? Because I understand in your contract that anyone can advertise HUD listings. And so then I went on Craigslist, and that's free. I went on Craigslist. I advertised HUD homes. I said, call me today. I'll show you this property. I'll represent you. And so, you know, that we were talking about free things to do. That was free. And I think you're right. I mean, so much of what we do, we're our own worst enemy.
Right.
So if you have an open mind and you want to go work, there are a lot of free opportunities out there.
Someone should write a book called Get Out of Your Way. That's what I'm thinking.
And I think everyone should buy a copy.
That couldn't have been planned better. You're right, though. We're our own worst enemies. So you go and do that, and you're doing this. Now, you were telling me earlier, too, like, you know, people get so down on, like, the going and knocking on a door thing, right? And the reason why they get so down on it, let's face it, none of us like when someone shows up at our door and, like, they have nothing to offer us other than the fact, will you buy this or will you buy that or, you know, whatever it may be. But your initial strategy when you didn't have money was just that, wasn't it? But what were you doing?
Yeah, I think, you know, your message has to be interesting when you show up at the door. It can't be, hey, I'm one of 20,000 realtors and you should use me to list your house. It should be, you know, let's say I'm in an office of 75 agents. So when I started, I said, hey, does anyone have a buyer need for a townhome in Blaine?
Right.
10 people say, yeah, we're looking for one. Now you go to the house and you say, hey, we've actually got a buyer that wants to buy your townhome. Would you be open to a one-time showing?
Right.
Everyone will respond.
Because you know that they're only open to a showing if
What's in it for them?
Someone needs to, Marie, tweet that out. He found a buyer for a particular type of area, and he just went up and said, you know, we've got a buyer for, and he said we, so it's the office, for a buyer for this kind of property. Would you be open to a one-time showing? What is he now doing? He's segmenting and finding out whether they're interested or not interested. I love that. You know, I had a guy come up to me 2 weeks ago. I love this. I'm telling our students all the time when it comes to your marketing and such and you want more listings, we know that when a listing comes up in an area, within 30 days another one's going to. We know within 6 months 2 to 3 more are. And so for a lot of our newer people, just like you did, we're trying to take them away from, well, I've got to spend all this money on sending out the marketing. Grab your stuff and bring it to them. I had a guy come up to me who was doing a roof across the street and 3 houses down. He shows up at my door with roof samples. And this was so genius. He shows up and he says, hey, I don't want to take a lot of your time. I know everybody gets annoyed when someone shows up at their door. I just wanted to let you know I'm putting a new roof on your neighbor's house right over there at so-and-so, you know, blah, blah, blah street. And I wanted to know if you had any interest because we can do it for a better price if we do it while we're in the area. I'm listening to this kid. I'm ready to buy a roof. I don't even need a roof. But I'm like, this is so brilliant. Why don't people do this? And it's that same kind of a thing. You're finding people who are interested in what you're doing. You're bringing them value because it has to do with their neighbor house, whatever it may be. And now you're putting yourself in front of them instead of sitting at your desk and hoping that your business grows, which is not what you did. I mean, you went out there and made it happen, right?
Correct.
All right, so you did that. You started going to people's doors. What was the response, and where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so, you know, when you start going to people's houses and you have something that's in it for them, they talk.
Okay.
The first thing they want to do is that, you know, you knock on the door and they say, I'm not interested.
Yep.
Wait a second, I actually think you are. We have someone that wants to buy your house.
Right.
Oh, really? Tell me more about it. So then then that gets you in the door. Then they want you inside the house, and you say, okay, well, actually, we work in this office here, and we have. I never said that they were my buyers. I said we.
Right.
And so I said, you know, we have buyers in this area, and they want to buy today. They're pre-approved, and I don't know if you're in the market or not.
Right.
You know, most of them aren't going to make a decision that day, but I can tell you what, you almost know the response. The next day they call and say, hey, I talked to my husband or I talked to my fiance probably if it was a townhome, and we actually would consider a one-time showing. We weren't quite ready to sell, but we would be if the right buyer came along.
But now you're in the door.
Right.
So let me ask you, did you experience a lot of rejection?
All the time.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to do $40 million this year. Was it worth it?
It was worth it.
Completely worth it, right?
I still get rejection.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. It's the old, like, how many no's to take a yes, right? I mean, that's how it happens. And I want to make sure everybody knows this too. At our annual advance in November at the Connecticut Convention Center, Chris is going to be there, and he's going to come on stage for me a little bit. We're going to go into some more details in a second here, but we're going to break down a lot of these things and how you do it and where you go and what you and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of value that's going to come. I want to step forward now. So I get it. In the beginning, you hustled your butt off. You went and knocked on the doors. You did what you you did what everybody else wasn't willing to do, and now you're experiencing the success that they're not going to have, right? But now, one of the real reasons I brought you on, and I'm not going to get into this whole aspect, but you do a lot of pay-per-click now. You generate a lot of – how many leads do you generate a month from your website?
Well, at least probably 300 or 400.
Okay, off of your website.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not going to cover that now. We'll save that for the advance, okay? That'll be like a teaser. But let's talk about – you and I started talking about things like to create money, things like Facebook advertising, which people say, oh, it wouldn't work to create business on Facebook, which is you and I, because we experience it, know is such nonsense, right? There's all this talk right now about how a lot of people are leaving Facebook, and a lot of the younger people are leaving Facebook, and they're going to Snapchat and Instagram and all these places, and it's true. But you know who's not leaving Facebook? You know, the young people, the 12-year-olds aren't buying houses. And so you're actually using techniques to do twofold. Number one, to create listings, and I want to talk specifically about that, but then you're also doing it to now help grow your team. Let's talk from the listing side, because you came to me, I think it was last week or the week before, and told me about a new campaign you were doing on Facebook to create listings, and it wasn't the traditional, hey, you're looking to sell your house, or hey, you know, that kind of a thing. You had something you were giving them. Talk to me through this. What did you do, and how's it going?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to take a look at it, it's just at chrislindahl.com, and I call it the equity calculator.
Marie, tweet that out, chrislindahl.com. KRISLINDAHL, is that correct?
Got it.
All right, if you can't see it, he tweeted me, so you'll see it there. chrislindahl.com. Okay, so you created this thing, okay?
I created the
equity calculator.
Yep, so the equity...
create it? I mean, what does that mean you created it? Because there's a lot of different people on this broadcast. What does that mean?
I created the idea of the equity calculator. The equity calculator, what I felt was I needed to get something for sellers that's in it for them. And so if I offer an automated tool that calculates their equity, they're not going to be able to resist. They want to know how much their house is worth.
Okay, so when you say I created this, we're talking about a form? We're talking about what are we talking about?
It used to be a standalone website, and now it's just a form within my chrislindahl.com. I used to have it on a separate website.
Yeah.
And so then what I did with... What's that?
Like a separate landing page?
Correct. Yep. Okay. And so basically what it was is you go on there, you fill out your information, you get a real-time email back containing an estimate of what your home is worth. Now the real key to it is I get their information the minute they fill it out. It has nothing.
So when you say real automated whatever, what they're really doing, I just want to make this crystal clear for everybody. Okay. You're creating a form just like people have a contact us form on their website.
Right.
But instead of it saying, you know, contact us, here's your first name, last name, whatever, it has specific questions to their property, such as, you know, what? Like, what kind of questions are on that form?
Mortgage balance, you know, their first name,
mortgage balance, what's your
plan to sell. And so, you know, and I think you know this as good as I do, you know, the contact us form is dead. I mean, someone's not going to the real estate website and going to say, hey, I want to contact you because you're a realtor.
Exactly.
It's never going to happen. But when they go there and they click on the equity calculator, now all of a sudden it's interesting. They've never heard the word equity calculator. What is that? How does that work? Oh, I get an email right away and it tells me how much my house is worth?
Well, what's your ad look like? First off, what did your ad start looking like, and what does it look like now? And I just want to make this clear. What he's doing is he's on Facebook advertising, and when you do your Facebook advertising, you can spend thousands, or you can say, I'm limiting this to $1 a day.
You could.
Like, you can spend whatever you want, like whatever budget you start at, and then it walks you through to create this ad. It's so simple. I don't want to do like a how-to on to create a Facebook ad right now, because you can jump on YouTube and do that in a second. So simple. But you created this ad. What did the ad say, and then what adjustments did you make?
Okay, so when I initially started, I said, Chris Lindahl launched a new equity calculator tool. Find out how much your home is worth.
Okay.
That's what the ad said.
Okay.
I got hundreds of seller leads.
Within what time frame?
Oh, within a month. Hundreds of seller leads within a month.
What were you paying? Because I know that, like, when I go look at my ads, we have a thing that are you doing it on a pay-per-click, or are you doing it on a general reach?
I was doing newsfeed ads, pay per website click.
Yeah, that's what I do too. It's the exact thing. So what was the cost? Do you remember what the cost was per click? Because it starts telling you what you're paying. Do you remember what
it was? I don't remember off the top of my head.
It was probably, I would think it's somewhere between 30 and 50 cents.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that range.
That's usually where it ranges. So every time somebody clicked it and filled out that form, 30 to 50 cents.
But if you look at my conversions, they were really low. How many listings I got out of it? And
Yeah.
so we're talking about the change that I made. So fast forward a month.
So a lot of leads, but not a lot of conversions. Like you were getting like hundreds of leads, but it was just a bunch of nonsense.
Well, they did exactly what I told them to do. They wanted to find out how much their house was worth.
But nothing. You weren't going to list anybody's property.
No, they
Okay.
wanted to find. So then this morning I shared with you that updated ad, and so what I added to the front of the ad was thinking about selling ? Try our new equity calculator to see how much your home is worth. Now,
That's all you changed.
That's all I changed.
Thinking of selling, try our new equity calculator. What did it say?
Yep, that's it. Yeah, try our new equity calculator, see what your house is worth.
That's it. And by the way, I want to make sure everybody knows this. If nobody clicked on it, how much do you pay?
0.
0. So only somebody who's thinking of selling and wants to know how much equity they have. And by the way, when you do this, you targeted it to where? Because I don't think people understand when you create one of these, you can segment in so many different ways. Didn't you write me last week and you were going to start using it for like building your team, and you said like, what's the best way for me to target individual people for my team? And I said go into titles, title realtor, title whatever. So you segment it how for these people?
Well, then it's funny. I went in there and then I found out that you could actually segment by homeowner or renter. So I took the zip codes that I want to own, that I am owning.
Okay.
And I clicked on only homeowners.
All right, go back now. You segmented by homeowner, renter, which you and I were going back again on Facebook. That's been around since about mid-year 2013, but it's not used by a lot of people. So when you went into your segments, how did you get to a place where you were able to put in homeowner or renter?
So when I went into the back end of Facebook to create the ad,
yep,
under description or one of those other ones when you can define what audience you want.
Are you in the Power Editor at this point?
Either one. You can do it in Power Editor, or you can do it in just the standard Facebook.
Okay.
It's in the demographics tab.
Okay.
The drop down, and so you just click homeowner, and you can do renter or homeowner.
Okay. So you were going towards homeowners.
Because they'd have to be a seller.
And so I just want to make so everybody's clear on this. So his ads now are going only to people who own a home, opposed to somebody, if we were trying to pick up buyers or somebody who's renting it or whatever. These are people who own a home, and that's all who's seeing it. And then you further segmented it how? Not just by homeowners, but what else?
Sorry, what was that?
I said so you segmented to just homeowners.
Yep.
So you didn't have renters, whatever. Maybe if you're going after buyers, you go after them. But then you further segmented not by homeowner, but how else did you segment? Like location, what did you segment by?
Yep, you talk about owning your area. So I went those same go back 2 years to that same zip code that I wanted to own.
Okay.
That's what I'm owning today. The same.
So you went in and segmented by zip code as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So only people who are homeowners in that zip code see them in their Facebook newsfeed, in their mobile site, in their on the side ads. Only those people.
Yep, correct. And the same people that have been seeing me for the last 3 years that I've been owning that area.
Yes. I mean, I tell people all the time that one of the other things you can do within Facebook that a lot of people don't realize now is that you can actually take your database. I don't even know if you're aware of this yet. You could take your database, upload a CSV with just your contacts from your database. You can upload them into your Power Editor. I'm going to show people how to do this at the annual advance. You can upload them into your Power Editor and have it only so your ads only show up to those people. So when I use stats like 89% of people say they use a Realtor again, but only 11% do. Imagine if you constantly had Facebook ads running that were only there to stay in touch with your people, to give them value, and it only showed up to your clients, to your database, how little you'd spend, but how much you'd be in front of them all the time. And by the way, if they don't click it, you don't pay a thing, but they still saw you. Okay, such a cool thing. So now, talk to me about this though. So you made the change. And you tell me again, what was the adjustment you made? You adjusted it from saying what to now saying what?
So all I added was 3 words: thinking about selling.
That's all you added.
That's all I added. But I want to go back.
A little minor change.
Tiny change. But I want to go back to something you just said real quick about the custom audiences.
Okay.
This is really easy, and it's something that you could do within a matter of 10 or 15 minutes. I would encourage everyone to do it. Go and extract every single Facebook friend you have from Facebook into either a Yahoo or a Gmail. Yahoo is a good one where you can pull all the data out.
Yep.
Then you take that CSV file and you create a custom audience for every single one of your Facebook friends.
Right.
So now when you create ads, every single one of your Facebook friends, which is the people you know, they see your ads every time. The problem is when you post something in your personal page, after a day or two, it's gone.
Right.
When you take the custom audience of all of your friends you can create ads over and over that only your friends see.
That's exactly what I was just talking about. Like, create that custom audience, create an ad which now shows up to everybody kind of on a regular basis,
That
and
you
you're
know.
right in front of them all the time.
Right.
Now, let's keep this in mind too. In order to do that, I hope people understand this. I was never a big fan of business pages, but you need a business page in order to do this. You need 25 likes on that business page, okay? Now,
Correct.
for people who are going to start doing this in our group, post your business page in our group or whatever, in our Facebook group, and let's all make a conscious decision right now that we'll all help each other out by just going and liking their pages to get to the 25 if they're going to start doing this. But you did another thing too, which is amazing. You told me, you said, well, you know what, I'm going to save that for the advance. Let's save that, because that's like a higher level whatever. We're going to save that. I want to get back to this, though. So you made that slight adjustment. All you added were the 3 words or 4 words. What'd you say? All you added was what?
Thinking about selling were the first 3 words of the ad.
Okay. That's all you changed. Kept the ad the same, but you added those 3. When did you make that change?
I made that change on Friday. I got
Friday of, like, we're talking like a couple days ago.
a couple days ago.
Okay. Tell me about results. No results. What?
So I've got 3 listings that I picked up, and then I got, actually when you and I were having the Facebook chat, I actually got another one. And the message.
So you have 3 listings, then you had another one who's a possibility now coming through the 4th since Friday.
Correct.
And you're probably paying 30 to 50 cents per click for those.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And they want to sell. And everyone that filled out the ad, they all want to sell.
Amazing. Because you changed that, thinking about selling, and only posted it to people in that area that you already dominate, so you're just, it's another way to touch them. It's another way to stay in front. It's another way.
Correct. And one thing I'd add to that is once they fill out that information, they're put on a drip campaign through Happy Grasshopper Position Me, which is a great tool.
I mean, we promote Happy Grasshopper. They're going to be at the advance. So I mean, there's 2 parts. There's Happy Grasshopper, which is the automatic follow-up every month. Then there's Position Me, which is a different thing that I haven't talked to my people as much about yet, which is more follow-up on leads and that stuff. But they also integrate with Wise Agent, which is another company that we highly promote. So we're going to bring at the annual advance, we're going to bring all that stuff together and actually set up the system of here's exactly how this works. Here's exactly, so, all right, so you're using Happy Grasshopper, Position Me, and then what's happening?
Okay, so they get the auto email from Position Me, and then my assistant sends out, I have a Homeowner's Guide to Selling, which is a book I wrote a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So the minute that they fill out that information, she sends a letter in the mail that says, hey, you filled out the equity calculator. To get a better analysis of what your home is worth, we need to see it in person. Here's a copy of my recently published book. Give me a call when you get a chance.
I love it. I love it. So here's my recent book. So you wrote the book.
Yes.
Okay. Would you e-publish it?
No. So I wrote the book, and then I actually got it printed at 48hourbooks.com.
Oh my God. So you created it yourself.
Right.
But you just positioned yourself as a complete expert. By the way, when you're looking to sell your house, like when people joke around and they're like, I wrote the book on that, or he could write the book on that. You're literally sending them something that says, I actually wrote the book on that.
Yeah, and so what I found is when I wrote that book, when I go on an appointment, I'm no longer a realtor. I'm an author and I'm an expert.
You're an expert. That's exactly right. I mean, reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where they're going, is anybody a marine biologist? Just the fact that he said he's a marine biologist meant that they were looking for him. But so you created that yourself, though. I mean, you created that brand. You created that whatever. And I mean, it's not like people start questioning you all about, like, well, how'd you get it published? What's 48-hour books? What's whatever? They just, wow, he wrote a book. Sounds good, And that, by the way, that's a popular thing people are doing now within the industry lately, is they're realizing how easy it is to do that. How big is the book?
It's about, I think it's about 80 pages or somewhere in that range.
Okay, awesome. All right, so you're doing that. That's fantastic, which obviously makes your closing rates go through the roof. What you're really doing is in the beginning, you're hustling like crazy to do whatever. You're thinking outside the box about how else can I differentiate myself from all these other realtors in the area. How can I whatever, and now the results are there to follow. I mean, that's the bottom line. And by the way, you're constantly tweaking. We talked about those Facebook ads and everything. You were trying that new, and then you changed it to get a better result because you didn't like you were getting leads, but you weren't really getting the response you wanted. And then in addition, you're now using Adroll, which is another company I was talking about a few weeks ago, Adroll. What does Adroll do for you?
So currently with Adroll, I'm in the process of actually segmenting every page on all of my websites. So what's going to happen is if someone goes and visits, like I'm in Blaine, Minnesota, someone goes and visits Blaine Real Estate on my website.
Yeah.
And when they go to Facebook or Google, any of the retargeting websites, the only ads they're going to see are search for a home in Blaine.
Gotcha.
They're going to be specific niche ads to wherever they visited on my site.
All right, so for anybody listening, I want to make sure, because, again, I don't want to talk too high level. Like I said, we'll save some of that for the advanced and whatever, how-tos and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, you're using this thing called Adroll, which is, by the way, it's something I use on my site as well. And I've been promoting it with Realtors lately because I think it's such an awesome opportunity. Because what it does is it takes people who go to your site or wherever it may be who are interested but really didn't act yet, they didn't list with you yet, they didn't hire you as a buyer's agent, they didn't whatever. And when they go to other sites, so now I leave there and I go to Yahoo, or I leave there and I go to MSN, or I leave there and I go to Facebook, or I leave there wherever I start going everywhere else in my digital world, they're going to start seeing ads of you pop up, and they're going to think, oh my God, what a coincidence. This guy must be amazing. I'm on his website, and they're also advertising him on Yahoo. They're also advertising. That's just Adroll. And so now you've now still marketed a certain amount of budget to start doing that as well, to start to get more of those leads coming off your site who you haven't converted yet.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Right. The biggest
reason why you're able to do this is because you're doing enough transactions, making enough money now, where it's like, I can start growing my marketing budget, but in the beginning you didn't.
No, it was just a different model, and we're talking about Adroll, and I think Adroll is such a powerful tool in the sense that I've had all kinds of different websites. I've had some that work, some that don't. Like you say, always constantly tweaking.
Yeah.
The big thing with Adroll now is you can segment every single person that visits your site. There's always been remarketing and retargeting. The problem is the ads they're going to see are generic. Now you're actually sending them ads that are specific. Like I have another website that is all segmented by every neighborhood in the city. So if they're looking in a specific subdivision, the only ads they're going to see after they leave there are ads in that subdivision.
So it actually knows, based on the link they were on, that they're looking for a specific thing, and then you have it created automatically. When they leave that specific thing, they're just going to see ads specific to that thing.
Correct. And not even neighborhoods. I mean, you can do school districts. You can do school districts. You can do cities. You can do price range. You can do style of home. I mean, it's endless. And the people that are going to see your ads, they already went to your site. You know that there's someone interested. They were there.
This is the stuff that boggles my mind, man. Like I've been saying for years about this targeting and all this stuff that was coming and everything. And I just think that today's realtors, so many of them, the difference between you and them is not that you're putting a cape on in a phone booth, right? The difference is that you're actually doing you're today's realtor. You're understanding the role of technology, which was to free you up to do the things you should have been doing all along. And so you're using technology to create the conversation, but ultimately your business is successful is because how you are with them in person. The fact that you get them one-on-one, you've got them. You get them, but you have to use today's tools to get you there. And too many people are putting on their blinders and going, oh, whatever, I'll just keep on, referrals. And referrals are great. Good part of our program is Core 100. The problem is you're missing, like I say all the time, the other 18 lines that should be out there for business, right? And so you're a good example, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. We'll get into much more detail at the advance where you and I are going to get up there and we're going to break down specifically. You do this, you do that. We might even have a computer open and showing them, okay, everybody, do this now. Okay, everybody. Because I think there's something great about being willing to share that and, whatever. But you're a good example of actually putting that stuff into action and seeing the results, I mean, my personal opinion, like you're going to do 40 million plus this year. I think you should be 120 million. But that's a discussion for another day that I won't rain on today. You have anything else to add, man? I mean, I don't want to do too much. I don't want to go too long. We're going to answer some. Can you hang on for some questions?
I can. Yeah, I just want one more thing that I think would be of value to a lot of your students.
Go.
And that would be the. I mentioned this briefly, and we won't talk too much about it today. But my listing appointments. I don't have a listing presentation. I go into the appointment with an iMac 27-inch computer, and I show them what I'm going to do. And when I get done, I say no one else will ever see that listing presentation again because it's unique. I don't know what I'm going to do, but what you can see is I know what I am doing. And
so explain that to me really quickly. Explain that to me. So you go in there with the Mac. You have no presentation. What do you do?
So I go in there. I open up the internet. I can show them. Here we can put your listing on this, on YouTube, on Pinterest, on whatever sites we want to go on. And then we can also start doing segmented advertising so we can go and we get an ad roll so that if they view your listing, now every site they go to.
I love it. So what you're really doing is you're going in and not saying, Here's 2 hours why I'm the greatest thing that human beings have ever experienced. What you're doing is you're going in and saying, you have a goal, which is to sell your house, and here's how I'm going to help you. Here's exactly what we're going to do. You're letting them see it and touch it and whatever, and you're letting them actually experience, here's what's going to happen with your property when you sell with me. This is what's going to happen. You're showing them.
And it's funny you mentioned that. You know, when I go into my appointments for sellers, I say that every time, is that 2 years ago, I used to bring this big book of crap and, you know, the same business card that everyone else had. It had a 3-ring binder and said, hey, I'm a big deal. Use me. Here you go.
Right. I'm kind of a big deal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so now when I go to the appointment, I say, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do anymore. I'm going to show you.
Wow. What a concept.
Yeah. So it's made a big change. And so I don't want to get too much into it, but, you know, I just bring the computer and run my hotspot and I show them what I'm going to do.
All right. Awesome. All right. So anything else I mean, like I said, I don't want to cover everything today. We'll do. I'm starting to think maybe we should expand our time at the advanced to go a little bit further into things because I think people eat this stuff up. I really do. It's the hands-on. Like I can tell you personally, right? When I go do an event, I can do the first, like when I get to go to I like doing local brokerages, like regional brokerages, more than I do big national. You know, like I just got hired to do Century 21 International, right? I like that. It's gonna be fun, 45 minutes to an hour type of thing. I like doing their, you know, Northwestern region, though, where I get to go in and do 3 hours. And it's funny because the first half I'll always do like the motivational, fun, whatever, and everybody loves that. But the second half, when I roll up my sleeves and really say, here's exactly what you do, the room is always more quiet. There's not as much, you know, interaction. But at the end, everybody's like, I love the second half better than the first. Because people want the tangible, what do I do with this good feeling that I have? What do I do now? And I think you're providing a lot of that for them, okay? Here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to start answering some questions. If you have some questions, you can tweet me at Jared James today. You can, you know, put it on our Facebook group. I'll be looking in there. I've got all these things open around me looking at. If you have specific questions for Chris or for myself today, feel free to ask them. I'm going to skip some of the questions that I already had put in and save those for next week because I think people want to ask about this. Let's see here. Chris, I already know the answer to this, but it says, who do you use for your website design and hosting?
Well, you know, you talk about reinventing the wheel. I initially tried to reinvent the wheel with the IDX, and I became one of the first agents in Minnesota to actually have the RETS data directly from our MLS provider, which was the biggest mistake I ever made.
Okay.
I now use Real Estate Webmasters, and they're absolutely incredible.
Are you going to be at the summit in July?
I am.
I'll be back there again. Nice. Yeah, we just signed the agreement last week.
Well, that's great. Yeah, you did an amazing job, by the way.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm going to do something completely different, but you guys were so much fun. Like that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, so that's the answer to that. So yeah, you use Real Estate Webmasters. We're actually thinking about trying to get me and Morgan have been talking. You know, some of the top agents in the world use Real Estate Webmasters, but they're not cheap.
They are not.
So me and Morgan are talking about trying to create something that hits all levels because he's got the higher end, which is great. Some of our people actually use him. He just hit kind of the middle end. He has a product now that's $199 a month, which is for Real Estate Webmasters is super cheap. But then, you know, like I spoke to you before we jumped on today, I'm always thinking about all 3 levels. So the very beginners who don't have $199 a month, we're trying to come up with something right now that we can create for them to be able to use as well. So whoever's watching right now, keep in mind we are doing that and trying to figure that all out right now. But great product. I mean, great product and amazing results, as you can see.
And I can tell you, I've tried them all. I've seen them all. I've done all the research.
Yeah.
They're by far the best. By far.
No, they're fantastic. Let's see what else we got here. We have somebody said Chris is a fireball. Good stuff. What's his last name so we can follow him? It's Chris Lindahl, KrisLindahl. Chris Lindahl. Just go to my Twitter feed. You'll see stuff with his name on it there because you just tweeted me a little bit ago too. Someone has a Facebook. Awesome idea on Facebook. I thought you guys would like that.
Jared, just a touch quick. I know. Sorry.
Jump in, man. As many things you want. Just keep jumping in. People are liking it, so go ahead.
We could talk for hours, but you know, we had talked probably about a month ago about getting another way to get seller leads, which I think is something that some will find value in. Is why don't you post your buyer needs? I mean, obviously the biggest challenge right now is inventory is low, almost all over the country. So post your buyer needs on Facebook and try to target some of those ages that you think maybe someone's going to be a seller. So right. I had, for example, which was probably a little long, but I took a page on my website and I wrote the 28 buyer needs that we have right now. And I sent it out to everyone in the area that we talk about owning.
Right.
And I said, I have buyer needs for all of these things, which basically anyone that lived in that zip code, that need was on that list.
Oh,
so I didn't miss anyone. And so people started calling and said, actually, you have a buyer for my house already? Well, you haven't been there. And I said, I'm pretty sure I have one. And so then what I did is I followed up with the postcards like we had talked about before.
Is this the one you showed me the tweet where somebody actually got into a bit of a Twitter battle with you?
Yeah.
But you ended up getting listings or buyers or whatever. Like, walk us through that, because people, it's funny because people will not market so much because they're afraid of like turning people off or making them whatever, making them angry. And I'm thinking to myself, so great, do the alternative, which is to not market enough and have zero result.
Right. So what I was doing.
Tell me what happened.
My message, it was twofold. One was I had a postcard and one was I had signage. And all it said is, Chris Lindahl has a buyer for your home. Call me.
That's it.
And that's it. That's all the sign said. And the sign thing lasted about a month until the police told me I had to take them down. But
okay.
So the postcards I sent out every 2 weeks. And so I would post, just sold another one. Someone took advantage of one of the buyers I had.
So to that specific area that you went twice a month.
Correct.
Okay.
And I just kept saying, I still have a buyer for your house.
Okay.
And I'm still doing it. And I'm still doing it. And it's just over and over again. And so now I get phone calls and say, well, I got the first 7, and now I'm kind of intrigued by your message. Do you really have a buyer for my house, or is this a solicitation to list my house?
Right.
And I said, I have a buyer. Can I bring him in?
Right.
And so, you talk about growing your business. I think my units aren't going up as fast as I'm doing more of both sides, because now I'm bringing buyers and sellers together. Right. Because I already have the buyers, the inventory's low, and now I'm getting the sellers because I have the buyer for the seller.
But you didn't somebody tweet you and say, like, you jerk, whatever. Like, what was that? You sent me something. What was that?
I mean, some of your students could probably go back and look at my Twitter feed. But what he did is he took a picture of the actual letter I sent him, and he said 3 postcards in one day is a little overkill. Yes, and he tweeted it out, and he included your Twitter handle in the tweet. Correct, and I just responded.
What'd you do?
I said, I couldn't agree more. Those are supposed to be sent out every 2 weeks or whatever. Right. And then his response was, I went out for a walk and I've cooled down. I appreciate the response.
Okay, now did you get any, because you obviously, there was something messed up where you got 3 in one day, but bottom line is you had marketing going, which is good. Any response from any of that marketing?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I get calls all the time.
Okay, perfect. So that's happening. All right, we have questions. Questions, man. Someone else asked me, God, let me find it here. They said, where do we find the default list? I think you were talking about with short sales and that kind of stuff. I think that's going back to that.
Okay, so in Minnesota, and I don't know if every state's like that, but in Minnesota, you just go to the sheriff's office website for the county you want to be in.
You can do that, yeah, or the town clerk, but yeah.
Yep, and so in some counties here, you can go online and actually look at the real-time data. In other counties, you have to go down to the county and print them out.
Okay, and what are you asking for? Because that's what he's asking. Like, how do you find it? I walk down there, what do I ask for? What do I look for?
You're looking for the default. So if a homeowner's 30, 60, 90, 120 late, so that they're getting the initial pre-foreclosure notice. They have been served.
Everything else, you're, okay.
They're in foreclosure.
Gotcha. So 30, 60, 90 days late, the default notices. And just so you know, Missy, I see your tweet. I'm going to answer your question about the 3 things on the weekly activity sheet. I'm going to do that in a second here. Someone said, where does he get the value for the homes when they fill out the sheet for home value? I think that's an easy answer, but why don't you take it?
Okay, so I actually have the evaluation tool through the Zillow API, so you can get just the Zestimate, which, like I told you, Jared, I'm not so strong on the actual Zestimate value number, but it really doesn't matter. It's just getting them to fill out the form so I can sell their house.
It's about response time.
Correct.
So you're allowing that response to go to them, and then following up with something like, to really give a value, I'd have to see your house.
And that's that package they get in the mail with the book and the letter that says I need to get inside the house to give you an accurate number. The Zestimate is just an estimate.
Gotcha. So you're taking like something that's not even taking you any time. It's just automatically calculating it, sending it, but then saying, look, to really get a value, though, I've got to get in.
Correct.
And what I love about that, you're not focused on the small details, because I know some people are listening to this and going, well, that's not going to be accurate. I'm not using that. Great. That kind of mentality will keep you from scaling. It really will. You can't. It's like I said earlier. Like, some people are too busy to actually be productive. But I honestly believe that if something's worth doing, it's worth doing imperfectly. Which sounds crazy because, like, I'm an excellence guy and I'm a whatever. But think about it. Who was the guinea pig when Apple came out with their iPhones? Were their iPhones perfect? No, they were terrible. And then little by little, they got it. when you come up with a system, you come up with a process within your business, it's not going to be perfect, but it's got to be scalable, which is really what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a scalable process, right?
Correct, and you need an answer. I mean, everyone. I mean, in today's day and world, they want an answer now, and
Right.
the only way to do that right now is through a Zestimate, or there's a couple other. None of them are accurate. I mean, you can't. An algorithm can't tell you what a house is worth exactly.
Right.
But you need something, because that's the tool you developed. You have to send something.
All right, I want to answer this. If we have any more questions come in, tweet them, Facebook, whatever it may be. But I want to answer. We have a new office. This is Missy's office. Hodnet Cooper out of, and I want to get this wrong, I think it's Georgia. You guys just joined. Guys, welcome. So glad you guys are a part of it. Their whole company signed up. And you asked the question because they have their weekly accountability trackers out, which is below the video. You can see we're supposed to fill these things out every single week. And she asked me the question. Let me pull it up here. If you have time, can you review what are the 3 things I want section on the weekly activity sheet? And that's pretty simple. I won't go into all 4 now, but I say that every morning we ask ourselves 4 questions. We ask ourselves what, how, why, and who. And I'll break these down in a future call because I haven't done it in a while. But the first question we ask every morning is what? And the question is not what am I going to do, which is a task-oriented question. The question is what do I want? What specifically do I want? And they're 2 different questions. And the problem with what am I going to do is that it's task-oriented. The issue with a task-oriented question is that you can complete tasks and not get what you want. So if I woke up in the morning and I was going to a dinner at night and I said to my assistant, call John and find out what's on the menu. If I go to my assistant halfway through the day and say, hey, did you get the menu? My assistant's going to go, no, but I called John. He just hasn't called me back. Now, did she do what I asked her to do? Yes. She called John. That's what I asked her to do. But I didn't get the result I wanted because what I really wanted was the menu. So when we wake up in the morning, our first question of what do I want instead of what am I going to do, what am I going to do comes next. That's the how question, what and how. The difference between the 2 is one is task-oriented, which, again, you can complete tasks and not get what you want. The other one, when you say what do I want, it leaves everything on the table. Whatever I have to do to get what I want today is what's going to be necessary. So if I woke up that morning and said, what do I want? I want the menu. Well, anything's on the table. I can call, I can show up, I can go online, I can ask friends, whatever it's going to take to get that. So your 3 things every week are what do I want? I want 2 new listings. I want 2 new buyer prospects. I want 1 new buyer. You say exactly what you... They don't have to just be business, by the way. I want an extra 3 times in the gym this week. I want to go to my son's recital. I want whatever they are, because then when you go from that place of what do I want this week, everything else from there on out revolves around that, but everything's on the table, okay? So that's what keeps us from just being busy and not productive, because our tasks, our activities actually are around what we want, not just here's what I'm going to do. Because when you just say here's what I'm going to do, you can do that, not get what you want. So it starts with the core focus. What do I really want? What are the 3 things I want this week? And it changes every week, okay? When I look at your how, I should be able to look at your calendar and know what it is you want, because 2 plus 2 is 4. So when I look at your calendar, I should be able to see, oh, this is what they want this week. But unfortunately, too often we look at people's calendar and it's the same old nonsense, same old, there's nothing different about it. What do I want? Once I know what I want, that dictates the how, okay? So that's the answer to your question, Missy. Let's see, I've got a couple more that came in here, and then I'll let you go, Chris, because I know I told you I wasn't going to take you that long. I see you responding to people on Twitter, too, which is really cool. Guys, if you want to follow Chris, at Chris Lindahl, KrisLindahl. Again, he's going to be at the annual advance, so you guys can get a chance to meet and such. I'm going to bring him up. I may do a longer thing than I was planning on, just because I think it'd be really helpful to you guys.
Hey, Jared, and one thing, too, is they can feel free to send me any direct messages. You guys have questions around the country that you want to ask me, feel free to send me a message. I'd be glad to help.
Awesome. You're on Facebook, too. What's your Facebook?
Same thing, Facebook.com, Chris Lindahl.
I hate you so much right now. If I could just get a Jared James something. Like, somebody created a fake Twitter account last week. I was at an event, and they, everything I do is Jared James today, with exception of YouTube. If you subscribe on YouTube, it's youtube.com/Jared1119. My buddy from Tech Savvy Agent, Steve Passanelli, wrote me recently, and he's like, why is it 1119? Like, why is it Jared1119? I said, because I never knew I'd be doing this for a living back when I set up a YouTube account. So somebody set up a fake Twitter account called Jared James yesterday, and they do nothing but quote anti-Jared James comments. So they posted something like, everybody be on the lookout for my new book. It's called It's Not You, It's Everyone Else. You know, like everybody else is the problem. Like stuff like that. It's hilarious.
That's free PR.
What's that?
Free PR.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah. There's been a lot of things like that. A couple of them I shut down. But anyway, I think, let me just make sure, I believe that is our questions for now. With that being said, Chris, man, thank you so much. Have you booked your hotel yet?
I have.
Sweet. Okay, guys, I'll say it once more time. If you're coming to the annual advance, you can go to our website, check it out. I haven't really started promoting yet. We're going to change the early bird rate pretty soon. If you get your office, if you get 2 people, you get a discount. 5 people, you get a discount. Make sure you're at that, guys. There's going to be invaluable information, not just from guys like Chris, guys like me, other people I'm going to bring in. We're going to lay out the blueprint for what you do in 2015 to get these kinds of results and others, because really it's just ingredients. Put the ingredients in the oven for a loaf of bread, you'll get a loaf of bread. It's really that simple, okay? We're going to get a chance to hang out, too. I've got a band coming in. It's going to be my birthday, which is crazy. We're going to have a great time, guys. Get down there. Invest in your business, guys. It's in November. Even if between plane ticket and everything else you invest $1,200, you're going to get way more than that in return, okay? So, Chris, thank you so much, man, for being on today. I think it was really valuable to people. Guys, do me a favor. Jump on Twitter and Facebook. A lot of people are going to watch this throughout the week, Chris. We get more people throughout the week than we do live, which I wish there was more live, but we get much more during the week. Feel free, guys. Thank Chris if you can. You can write in the Facebook group or just tweet him and thank him for coming on. I always appreciate it when people are willing to share what they've done in their knowledge base, because not everybody's willing to do that, okay? So please make it a point to say thank you to him. From me to you, man, thanks so much. And with that being said, guys, you have anything you want to say before we close?
No, I would just strongly encourage everyone to go to your event in November. I can tell you that when we met in person at the summit for the Real Estate Webmasters Summit, you know, the things that we actually had a little bit longer time. We stepped out, if you remember, we stepped out of that conference and talked for about an hour.
Yeah.
And to meet you in person, the things that you can actually provide and the feedback that you were able to give me has changed my life and has changed my business. So
that's awesome.
I'd like to thank you for that. And it's not a sales pitch. There's nothing in it for me, but I think everyone should go.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, I always say, whether it's, you know, I'm not saying about myself, but whoever, there's nothing like live, man. There's nothing like, I was doing an event recently, and I'm doing this tour at this place, and they said, you know, you come to these locations live, and then can we do like a webinar for these people? And I said, sure, but webinars aren't the same. It's just not the same. There's something about being there live that just, it does something in you that goes, I'm going to do this, you know? I watched something last night, and I so loved it, man. It changed the way I looked at things. A guy was saying to his audience, he was teaching these people how to change what they were doing and how to whatever, and he looked at them and he said, I know you can change, and you know how I know you can change? And everybody went, what? And he goes, because you're not dead. And I was just like, that just clicked. I'm like, that is so true. So, guys, we hope you see you there. Chris, thank you so much. Marie, as always, thanks for being on. And you can keep your questions coming. We'll keep trying to answer these. But everybody, have a great week. We will see you next Monday.